Dear learners, welcome back to your educational channel, Learn and Educate, where in this video we would be studying about entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. What are the basics of entrepreneurship? And continuing this series for entrepreneur. As entrepreneur is the ability which is possessed by the entrepreneur to assess the risk, to take the risk, to establish a business which are very risky, but at the same point of time it perfectly suits the economic conditions, the changing scenario in the country. Entrepreneurship is a dynamic activity. Entrepreneurship as an activity, it requires changing to cater to the changing needs of the people in a society. Entrepreneurship is a dynamic activity which requires the entrepreneur to be innovative and challenge the conventional way of doing the businesses and challenge the conventional procedures to introduce new product to cater to the specific needs of the consumers. Entrepreneur as a person, he plays an important role for the economic development, for the specialization of his business, for improving the standard of living of the people in the economy, and thus increases the economic development, improves the economic conditions of the economy of a country. Entrepreneurship as an activity is a very dynamic, which requires the entrepreneur to be innovative, to invent and challenge the ordinary way of doing the businesses. Entrepreneur makes a positive change in the plan of the business. Entrepreneur identifies the opportunity, tries to create something new, and get the economic benefits for him, for himself also, and for the people working for himself. Entrepreneur is an economic agent who plays a vital role in the economic development of the country. Economic development of a country, which means by a steady growth in the income levels of the people, steady growth in the standard of living of the people of a country, where growth mainly depends on the entrepreneurs and entrepreneur as an individual with his knowledge, the skills, the initiative, the spirit of innovation, the drive which he undertakes, the drive which he or she undertakes, the identifying power of whether this would result in the opportunity, and who aims to achieve goals with the help of seizing the opportunities and getting the maximum benefit from that. An entrepreneur identifies opportunity and take the maximum benefit of it. He generates an action plan. He makes positive change in the plan of businesses so that he can achieve the outcomes. Where entrepreneur, he undertakes all those activities which are carried out by a person for the purpose of establishing, for the purpose of continuing the business enterprises, and in accordance with the social, political, and economic environment. The environment in which the entrepreneur functions, does his business, is important because it helps him to organize his business. As an entrepreneurship, the the person who conducts the activities which relates to the anticipation of the consumers, like their likes, the dislikes, the behaviors, the taste and preferences, the fashions, the feelings of the individual, and the introduction of business ventures to meet out to the expectation of the consumers. Entrepreneur is considered as an innovative activity. Entrepreneur needs to be innovative. He organizes the existing resources, he operates with it, he puts them in the production process. All this result in the factors of production. He assumes the risk for starting a business, and it result in creation of a new products, which helps the businessman to develop new form of business organizations, and thus a new business activity creates, it caters to the changing needs of the society. The liberation of the rigidities with respect to the buying and selling of goods, with respect to the conventional way of doing business, are mainly challenged due to his new innovations, his new product, which we terms as entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship as an activity is depends upon the ability of the individuals who are entrepreneurs. They assess the risk, they identifies the opportunity, they seize the opportunity by establishing business which are risky, but at the same point of time, it perfectly suits to the changing scenario in the economy. The factors which determine for the development of the entrepreneur and the entrepreneurship are the risk-taking ability of the entrepreneur, the risk-taking ability where there is a strong mental attitude to foresee the risk and uncertainty with the achieve with a motive to achieve strong innovations. It means that doing something in a new and effective manner. And the second point is the achievement, where entrepreneurs are the builders of the nation. They create innovative visions, dynamic leadership. They have a creative decision making behavior. Therefore, it results in achievement. The risk taking ability and the reward is achievement. The other factors which are necessary are, first of all, the sources of capital. The source of capital. The innovation requires capital, which result in the businesses, and therefore it is a dynamic activity which requires raising of capital. The performance of speculative functions to gain edge over the others. Moreover, it is competitive in nature because of the environment, because of the political, because of the social. It is very much competitive in its nature, and entrepreneur needs to be innovative in terms of doing some functions, speculative functions, to gain the edge over the other who are working in the same and have competitive advantage. Considering the new facts of production, the time required, the gestation period required to convert a product into the actual services deliverable, and take into account the technology, and this determines the success and the quality of the production. Performance function of the employer himself, the performance functions of a merchant. The entrepreneur needs to be innovative, and as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship is a dynamic activity. Being an entrepreneur, he has to be innovative. It has to be innovative and challenge the merchants, challenge the mercantile. He has to be the master. The supply of goods and services which are unknown to the consumer needs to be taken into consideration by the entrepreneur. Finding a new market, finding a new market which has not been yet discovered, and try to exploit, try to discover, try to penetrate the new market. Seizing the new opportunity for being ability to grab it, the ability to grab new opportunity. As an entrepreneur, he has always been alert to the opportunities. There have been many quick, they are very much innovative to grab the opportunity and to seize. They plan the intellectual, they plan their abilities, and realizing an ability in order to take the risk bearing ability, the development of those areas which have not been yet developed. It is risk taking ability, where entrepreneur are the person who take decisions under the uncertainty, and thus they are willing to take the risk, but they never gamble with the results. They choose the moderate risk rather than play a wild gamble. Therefore, they undertake calculated risk which are high enough, they are fairly reasonable, and thus it results in the profits, it result in the getting new business opportunity, it result to seize the new market, the capitalization of the market by selling of the goods made by the business and entrepreneur in those markets. The innovators, they are innovators because the decision making is to be done in an uncertain condition in an uncertain market. Moreover, this requires the person to be innovative. They constantly put their efforts in introducing new products, new methods of production, new technologies, and opening of the new market, and to recognize the enterprises. They creates new demand, new aspirations, and new methods to fulfill them. Entrepreneur is a person who organizes, who operates the factory of production, and assume the risk of continuing the business, doing a business. Therefore, entrepreneurship as an activity, it requires the business to be specialized in taking the judgments, in taking the decisions about the coordination of the resources and make decision in an uncertain environment. Therefore, as a collective approach of an individuals, the collective approach of the innovator, of entrepreneur, it results in the development of the enterprise and therefore leads to entrepreneurship development. And the entrepreneurial role played by the various agencies in the environment, they strive for the betterment and provide the conductive infrastructure with respect to technology, with respect to opportunity, with respect to the availability of market. The coordination among the various aspects of the economy results in the entrepreneurship development. Thus, entrepreneurship as a development activity help to exhibit the risk-taking ability, the innovations, the technology, the science, the consumer expectations, the provision for new capital, crisis management, because the results of the business, the result of the decision taken by the entrepreneur has to be borne by the individual. Therefore, the entrepreneur needs to be a risk manager. He is requires to take decisions in the environment which is not conductive. The traits which result in the ability, entrepreneurship as an activity, it's developed because of the ability of the individual and the urge to achieve something in their life, as developed by the urge as a degree to varies from individual to individual, but a high degree of urge to achieve in their life. It is an entrepreneurs and all activities that enable them to fulfill their urges, which would result in enterprises. The positive concept. As entrepreneur is always positive in his action, entrepreneur utilizes the positive knowledge to support his thinking and to never get any obstacles and which help them to grab the opportunity. They plan intellectually and anticipate carefully. Therefore, a self positive concept and the ability to back themselves with respect to the decisions taken and to implement them in the marketplaces. Moreover, the economic growth is completely dependent on the entrepreneurship and requires a vibrant entrepreneur ability to claim the business opportunity. It creates new jobs. It creates an entrepreneurship climate, increases the competitiveness of the individual working in the organization, increases the competitiveness of the products produced, increases the name and fame, the goodwill for the business, for the entrepreneurs, and therefore it results in the activity which reforms the regulatory environment, which reforms the policies in an attempt to increase the activity in a numerous ways. Therefore, entrepreneur is a person who is briefly considers the development in their activities, the activity which at every stage, at different stages of economic, result in the economic development. Thus, the key factors of success mainly depends upon the entry of the entrepreneur and examines the opportunity available in the business required. What are the requirements to start a new business to reduce the risk at a level with the help of the managerial skills which implement in the production of the goods and the development of the less developed economies. The scale the scale at the time, the scale of operations, the manufacturing activity, the production activity, the marketplace, the sales, the development of a new product, innovation and selling of a product in the same market, the market development, the selling of the product in the new market, existing markets result in the maximum advantage. As an entrepreneur, he is an innovator. Entrepreneur is an innovator as he assumes the risk with a few group of individuals. He organizes the productive factors. He organizes the factors of production, which results in the greater yield and increases the productivity. Thus, innovations. He is an innovator as constantly putting his effort into new product and new services, new methods of production, new technologies, opening up of the new market, and to recognizing the opportunity available and creating demand, the aspirations, the methods to fulfill them. Thus, entrepreneur is an innovator. Entrepreneur is an organizer. He organizes the business into the productive ways. He organizes the business by taking the risk. By independence achieved, entrepreneur makes economic use of the resources. Entrepreneur organizes the resources to shift the economic resources out of an area of lower productivity to high productivity. He Entrepreneur uses the resources in the areas of higher productivity. Entrepreneur is a person of independent nature. Entrepreneur is a person who specializes in taking the decision making and coordinates the scarce resources. He is an agent who buys the factor of production at a certain price to combine them in the product with a view to sell them in the market at an uncertain price in the future. Therefore, he is an independent person who takes calculated risk with respect to the defined entrepreneurship spirit, the spirit of taking financial and social risk, where the opportunity has been clearly identified and where it is possible at least to control the product. And therefore, the entrepreneurial ability to thinking and starting new business, new firm formation requires him to be independent in nature. Therefore, entrepreneur is a person who organizes, operates the factors of production, and assumes the risk of starting a business. He is an innovator. Entrepreneur is an organizer. He makes economical use of resources. Entrepreneur is a person of independent nature.